welcome to the Football Hipsters podcast. My name is Kris, the host. Sadly not with the most, but I'm here nevertheless, and it's time for another interview. And I'm very happy to say this week we've got something with a bit of a difference, or someone with a bit of a difference, I should say. It is Natalie Dean, who was a candidate on this year's UK BBC Apprentice, and is a very big Sheffield Wednesday fan. So good evening to you, Natalie.
Hello, Kris.
Do you mind me calling you Nat? Would you prefer Natalie? I don't mind.
No, pretty much the only people that call me Natalie are my parents and my grandparents, so that's fine.
I'll stick with Nat, else it'll just be creepy.
Alan Sugar, so yeah.
Oh, of course. Yeah, well, I suppose he can pretty much call anyone what he wants. Yeah. We'll come on to him in a minute. Well, thank you very much for taking the time out to speak to us this evening. I wanted to get... I'd like to do lots of interviews with varying different personalities and different fields, so I do appreciate your time. I want to start by just asking you to tell us a bit about yourself and how you came to love football and indeed your supporting club, which is Sheffield Wednesday.
Yeah, so before I was born, strangely enough, my parents both actually supported Leeds United. Now, by the time I was born, and my brother, who's a couple of years younger than me, they had become Sheffield Wednesday fans, which is very strange, I know, because you don't really hear people changing who they support, especially not when it's kind of a local rival. But they'd got fed up of going to Leeds, and in that time, in the early 80s, it was a very bad atmosphere there with the fans. So they went to watch Liverpool, who then happened to play at Hillsborough. They went to watch Wednesday play a couple of times and decided they really liked Wednesday. So by the time I was born, they were Wednesday fans. So from the age of about maybe 7 or 8, I had a season ticket at Hillsborough. So that's kind of how it started, and I was a mascot twice as well, so kind of loved them ever since, really.
Oh, did you have to wear any sort of... Was it like one of those wear a mini kit job, or did you have to do anything really embarrassing as a mascot? Or
Yeah, wear the kit, be very intimidated, go into the changing room where all the players are all sat there waiting for you to bring your autograph book to them. Oh. It's quite intimidating as a child to do that, especially.
Yeah. Yes, it's good fun though, isn't it, as a kid?
Yeah,
like,
and you
nice.
go run out with the team, take some shots at the goalkeeper. It's Kevin Pressman at the time, so it was quite fun, yeah.
Oh, big Kevin Pressman, yeah, I remember him. Absolute legend. And as football as a whole, was once you sort of got into Wednesday, did your love of football, as a sort of a general, did you just take in the love of football then, or is it just purely Wednesday?
No, because I started playing football as well then. When I was literally about 5, I started playing football with boys actually, like on a Saturday morning, and from then on, I've always played football as well. So I think I've just overall had a big love for football, and I enjoy watching all football, Premier League, Championship, even like League One and League Two, and Spanish football. I'll watch any football really. It's quite worrying, the obsession really.
I get it all the time as the host of our pod. I get a lot of stick because I probably watch on average about 20 or 30 games a week from all different leagues. So yeah, we're very much hipsters. You said you play. I manage a Sunday league team down here in the southwest for a group of what you occasionally they call themselves adults. It varies. Do you still play sort of at any level now?
Yeah, so this season I've just gone to a local team, so I haven't really had time this last year. But last season I did play for Wolves women's team last year.
Oh, fantastic! So actually quite a high level as well.
Yeah, it's quite a decent standard. Yeah.
Good stuff. And there's a lot of work being done in the women's game to promote it. And that, do you think that's sort of a sport that will start to grow even more and more women will get involved?
So I think it will, and I think participation in women's football has really increased, especially with younger girls, which is really good. And I think with the World Cup this summer, with England doing so well, and a lot of people got behind the team, which was nice. But it's great, but I just don't think it's ever going to get to anywhere near the levels of the men's game. The main reason, obviously, being money, and people would always rather watch men's football because it's faster. Basically because it's faster and they're more powerful.
Yeah, fair point. Yeah, I think it's great what they're doing though, and as you say, it's the coverage of the World Cup is fantastic, and when you get people like Carly Lloyd getting sort of well documented across the internet yesterday for her Ballon d'Or victory as well. So
and not liking Ronaldo.
That was quite amusing, wasn't it? Lots of quite funny pictures coming out. That the picture of Ronaldo and is it Neymar's girlfriend? That was also quite amusing. Let's talk about what people might know you from as far as this year's Apprentice. Then again, we got listeners sort of all around the world, but over here we have a channel called the BBC. God bless them, and the Apprentice, which has been going for a number of years. I can remember now. How did you find the experience, and what would you say that you learned or took from it?
So it was all a bit mental, really, because I mean, I never really thought about applying for it. I've watched it every year, and then strangely enough, I actually happened to be stood at a concert with my brother, waiting for Slipknot to come on stage. And we were talking about it, The Apprentice, for some reason, and I happened to look up the application. It was the last day for the applications there, and I actually filled in the application form on my phone, waiting for Slipknot to come on stage. Decided it was a good idea to do it, and then got invited to an audition. And I thought, oh, you know what, it might be quite fun. I'll go to the audition. Went to the audition, did quite well at the audition, and then was asked about my business plan. And I was like, oh, I haven't got a business plan. So I made one up on the spot, which actually I quite liked the idea, but it was kind of all just on the spot. I just made it up as I went along, and it turned out they quite liked it, and then it just kind of went from there. So it was all a bit crazy, and then next thing you know, you're rocking up at the boardroom, and you feel like you've been teleported into a TV program that you watch. It's really, really quite a strange experience.
That's a brilliant story. Being at a Slipknot concert. See, these are the things they should show when they show, like, this is our candidate and this is how she got here. Bizarre. Are you allowed to let slip what your business idea was, or has that been?
Yeah, no, it's fine. So it was because I've always worked in telecoms. I've worked at BT and EE. So what the plan was, it was a consultancy company, a technology consultancy company for basically small and medium businesses, to basically advise them on how they could grow their business, improve profitability by using technology.
Fantastic. As somebody that's worked in telecoms and sales my whole life, I'm fully with you on that one, because there are so many, as you'll probably appreciate, there's so many old-fashioned cliche ways of doing that business nowadays. It's just so cringy. Okay. And how did you find? It sounds like a really obvious question to ask, but the element of being on TV, of being a quote unquote sort of celebrity, or somebody that people would recognise, whether it be locally or on Twitter or social media. How did you find that experience? Was it quite easy to take on, or did you find it quite intimidating at the time?
So really, really strange, actually, because I couldn't get my head around it, because I couldn't get my head around that people were finding me on Twitter to tell me how much of an idiot I am. Now, to me, that's really strange, because, like, I thought about this, and I was like, right, for example, someone I'm not too fond of, John Terry. I'm sure I'm not the only one there.
No, you're not the only one.
But I would never think I'm going to go look him up on Twitter and tell him how much I don't like him. It's a very strange concept to me. But then I had to get my head around the fact that these people watch a TV programme and they're judging you and deciding what kind of person you are and whether you're capable at anything based on, it's probably about 2 minutes of what you do in 3 days. And it's quite strange to get your head round. But millions of people are watching this and judging you based upon that. And when you don't think about it, it is quite intimidating. And then you go out shopping, or I'll go into Birmingham or something shopping, and people will come up to you and be like, oh, you're on The Apprentice, aren't you? And you'll be like, yep. And then they'll be like, oh, so, and they've got loads of questions. And when you're not expecting it, you've never experienced it before, it is really strange. It's a very strange experience.
Yeah, I can imagine. And as you say, like, the people, as we know as football fans, social media takes no prisoners these days. There are people waiting for your every move, to just sort of pick up on it. Did you kind of take the approach of I'll just ignore and move on, or were some things said that were either really, really nice that gave you a boost, or things that you looked at and went, that's really not very nice?
So for a while, I would just kind of respond to some of them in a way as though they would be like, for example, I don't know, things you don't see on camera that people don't think, that they presume that everything you see is exactly what happened and nothing's been missed out. Like, so for example, I think people were tweeting me asking one week why I hadn't been taken back into the boardroom. And I was like responding to some of those people saying, well, actually, it was because I made the most sales in my sub-team. But they obviously didn't know that because they didn't show that on the TV. And they were like, oh, right, okay, I'm really sorry. Like, I'm like, yeah, no, it's fine. And for a while, I wanted to kind of justify it and be like, well, what you've seen is not actually everything that happened. But after a while, I was like, there's really no point.
No, I suppose you get hundreds of people a day, and yeah, it must be a nightmare. Here's a question for you. With regards to the editing sort of purpose of the show, how much did you sit back and go, I know that obviously there was quite a high profile incident this year of one of the candidates sort of really not being happy with how she was portrayed, and fair play to her for being that and standing by her principles. How did you find the editing process? Did you feel that particularly you had a bad cough one week? Hopefully, sounds like it's gone. That's a good thing.
So strangely enough, like, I'm completely kind of over it now, and I understand it's a TV show, but at the time, because so when you go to film You're Fired, you go before and you watch the episode in the day with the executive producer, and I watched the episode and I was really, really angry, watching it, because I was like, this is not what happened. Like, it is quite heavily edited to this a stage where, for me, it was even edited what he said when he fired me, and I was like, oh my god, this is making me look really stupid. And the fact that it made it look like I was pretending to be ill when I was genuinely quite ill, and I'm watching this thinking, it looks like I'm pretending to be ill here, and it is quite frustrating. But then you have to realise that the whole point is it's a TV show. It's following a narrative of what Alan Sugar says in the boardroom, and it's all in the early weeks. It's only going to make it's only going to show good things of the people who get to the end. The people who get eliminated in the first, like, sort of 7-8 weeks, it's not really going to show anything positive they do, because they don't need to.
Yeah, fair point.
It is quite frustrating.
And with Alan Sugar, obviously, he's putting aside the fact of which team he supports. Less said about that, the better. How did you find him as a person, and also how did you find Karen and Claude? Was it did you have a favourite, or was it all quite intimidating?
I definitely had a favourite. Claude's a really nice guy. He's a proper gentleman. Because when I first found out he was kind of the new Nick, I was like, oh god, because obviously I had to just sing through the interviews, and I thought he's horrible, but he's not. He's a really nice person, and I was actually really like, whoa, you're really nice and kind and polite. It was really weird. But then with Alan Sugar, he's literally just like you see on TV. He's just that's him.
Yeah, exactly.
That's him.
And final question on The Apprentice at this point. Anybody either in the house with you, or when you were, maybe not the boardroom, but did you get a chance to talk any football at all with any of either the candidates or the team?
So a couple of I spoke to David quite a lot about football, because he works in sports marketing, so he does quite a lot of promotion for women's football. So we had a chat about that. I was like, God, someone knows about women's football. This is amazing. And then Gary was also quite a big Aston Villa fan, so I spoke to him quite a lot about football as well. Yeah. The girls, none of them cared about football in the slightest. So.
No, I have to say, Gary, he always made me chuckle. I liked Gary.
He's very funny.
He seemed like a very down-to-earth guy. Actually, I've got one other question, because this has always fascinated me, just from a personal perspective. The house itself, is that really weird? Is it almost like going back to, I don't know if you ever went to university, but is it almost like being back at uni, where you've got all these people of different cultures and different upbringings in one plush house?
So it's really weird that, like, you get put into this house. You've literally just met these people on camera, and then you are literally sharing a room with. At the start, there was 5 of us in one room, 5 girls in one room, and sharing a bathroom with these people. They're complete strangers to you. It is really, really strange. And then you share a kitchen with them. You're with them on an evening. It's really weird, yeah. But you become you find with the people in your room, especially, you become really close really quickly to them, because you are literally with them all the time and going to bed with them at night.
I know what you mean. Yeah. It's I'd be no good, because if that phone went at 5:30, I would just let it ring. There's no way I'm getting up at that time in the morning. That's probably why I don't have a business plan, to be fair.
Yeah, nah, I can't be bothered to get up. Sorry.
No, don't blame you. Let's go back to football then. So with the modern day, sort of, it's becoming a business, sort of tying this into The Apprentice, as it were. Yeah. With football becoming very business driven, what do you think can be said for the positives of that? Do you see many positives in the financial sense of the game these days?
No, not really. I suppose for me, the only thing is that with the Premier League having so much money, is that we're going to attract world class players, hopefully more so. Even though it summed it up to me though when there was the Ballon d'Or, and none of the players were playing in the Premier League. So I kind of hope in a way that if the Premier League does end up getting richer and richer, eventually some of those best players in the world will play over here. Because at the moment it's just not happening.
No, I agree. We had a good discussion actually on our podcast this week about the Ballon d'Or, and we all universally agreed that none of the Premier League players should have been in there. And all this talk of the best league in the world, it's a lot of it's a marketing campaign, in our humble opinion. So, no, I agree with that. And how does the money in football affect a club like yourselves? I mean, obviously that has tasted the big time, and indeed won trophies in quote unquote the modern era. How does it affect you guys? Do you look up from the Championship and look up to the Premier League and think, oh, we could do with a bit of that, or do you look at it almost a bit negatively?
So it's a difficult one, isn't it, really? Because I've always been that I love the Championship. It's brilliant. The Championship's fantastic. But ever since kind of we got taken over, so it would have been just over a year ago, by Chancery, he's pretty rich, to say the least. It was John West Tuna. And I think since he's come in, and it's actually become more realistic now that Wednesday could get promoted. We're kind of on the edge of the playoffs, and we're playing really nice football. And it's almost like it's tempting now. It's like, oh, actually, yeah, I quite do want to get promoted, because I think it's because it's actually, we've never thought it's possible before, but now it's actually looking like we could do it maybe in the next couple of seasons. So it's like that tempting, being able to go, being able to have Man U, Man City, have these teams come to Hillsborough. And it's to think, to imagine that is brilliant, because I haven't had that since I was about 10 years old. So it's kind of like, it's exciting to think that could happen in the next couple of years, maybe.
Yeah. We'll talk Sheffield Wednesday, in fact. And what about do you want to just sort of share some memories of games that you've had over the years? We'll come on to this season in a minute, but over the sort of the history, is there a specific day, night, or game that stands out that you've been at?
So in recent years, it would have been the day we got promoted again from League One, against Wickham. So that was incredible, because it was literally, Hillsborough was full, and even the whole away end was just packed with Wednesday fans. And it was that, I think it made it so special that we got promoted over Sheffield United too. And the atmosphere there, it was like a party. And in recent times, it was just incredible. Like that many people turned up to a League One game. And even the Wickham fans were clapping. So that in recent times was brilliant. And then, I mean, from the years of about kind of, I mean, we had the playoff final in 2005. Obviously, that's always a good experience. But before, I mean, apart from that, in the last 15 years, there hasn't really been a lot exciting going on at Sheffield Wednesday. I mean, a couple of seasons ago, we beat Leeds 6-0 at Hillsborough. Obviously, that was pretty amazing. As who doesn't want to beat Leeds 6-0?
True.
And then I suppose I have from when I'm younger, I remember the game I probably remember the most from being a child was the game where Di Canio got sent off, actually. Because I remember it was the day my parents had bought me a shirt with Di Canio on the back. He never played again after that game. I remember seeing the ref, and because the players were crowded around him, we saw the ref kind of fall backwards. In the stand I was in, we didn't realise that Di Canio pushed him over, and it came to click when he got sent off. Oh no, he's pushed the ref over. And remember, we were at home to Arsenal, and we were like, we're going to lose now, definitely. We've got 10 players. Di Canio's pushed the ref over. But then it was in one of the last minutes. I remember Lee Briscoe, who was actually from the same village as me. He popped up the left back. He popped up. Or right back, I can't remember, but he popped up on the edge of the box and chipped the Arsenal keeper, and we won 1-0. And I think I'll always remember that game. It was kind of just so many emotions in one game. It was pretty incredible.
True story, and I promise listeners, we didn't discuss this before. I was at that very same game as an Arsenal fan.
Really?
Yep. I remember it. Nigel Winterburn was I remember Nigel Winterburn going over to Di Canio and sort of being Johnny Big Balls, and then Di Canio went for him and he just backed off. He's like, nope. It was just. I seem to remember Patrick Vieira was sent off that day as well, from memory. I may be wrong there. I'm sure that we had a player sent off, and it was just like you say, that Briscoe goal, last minute, dinked it over, Big Dave, and I was also at an Arsenal game with some familiar faces. If you remember, funny enough, Patrick Vieira's debut at Highbury, when you had the likes of Reggie Blinker and Stefanovic at the back, and those were the days. So, dig up memories. What about this season then? I mean, your form at the moment as a club is flawless, really. To be honest, they've been on such a run. Even some of the bigger pundits, it looks that the Sky pundits are starting to say that Sheffield Wednesday could be the team to watch. There's always one that makes a run to the playoffs. Do you think that could happen? Do you think, in a weird way, maybe your runs come too soon, or do you think you can keep building on it?
I think if we don't get any of our key players injured, and I think we need to firm up a couple of things in this transfer window. But I think, given that, I really think we'll end up in the playoffs. And I don't think we'll just scrape sixth. I think we'll finish third or fourth, to be honest, because I think we can. I think we've got the quality to do it. And the way we play football, we're playing really good football. We just need to start getting results against the other teams around us, because up until Birmingham, we hadn't beaten a team around us in the league. But now we've done that, I really do think that we've got a good chance. Yeah, I do.
Yeah, I agree. And the manager, Carlos Carvajal, he replaced, was it Stuart Gray, wasn't it? I think the previous Southampton manager. He's sort of bucking the trend that a quote-unquote overseas manager or foreign manager can't do it at the Championship level. I know the Middlesbrough manager Karanka's doing the same. What do the fans make of this sort of new approach with foreign manager, foreign stars, and a really different approach to how you play?
Yeah, so first foreign manager Wednesday I've ever had, so it's quite an interesting one. And at the time when I found out Stuart Gray had been sacked, it actually happened while I was on The Apprentice. I remember I came out and I was like, really? Should we have sacked Stuart Gray? We appoint Carlos, and everyone's like, who the hell is this guy? We've no idea who he is. And obviously people are like, oh God, he's been at lots of clubs, just reading his CV without knowing anything about it. We're all like, who is this guy? What is he doing? And I remember going to the first game of the season, and I was like, oh, we're playing quite good football. But then we went on a bad run up until the transfer window. And lots of people started calling for his head already, get rid of him. But I don't know, I think it was because we lost to Middlesbrough, and that was a really bad game for us at home. The only home game we've lost all season. It was the game before the first transfer window. But I saw something in the second half, the first 20 minutes of the second half, where it could have gone either way. We made it 1-1, and then we conceded on the break. And I think if that hadn't happened, we could have won that game. And I saw something in that 25 minutes that I was like, this is different. There's something different about Wednesday here. We're trying to play football properly. And I kind of saw that. And then it came, because after the transfer window, we didn't win the first couple of games, but you could see something was happening. And I think Carlos said that in the Burnley game that we lost, we might have lost a game, but we won a team in that game. And since then, we've just kind of not looked back. But it's been those first kind of few games that have kind of why we're not second or third at the moment. And I think everyone had to remember that people were forgetting. We had a whole new coaching team, a whole new, basically, squad of players, and people are expecting us to just perform straight away. But now everything's clicked, and we're playing some fantastic football, and it's so nice to see. And I think people are realising that, and now everyone loves Carlos. I mean, we might lose 5 games in a row and everyone will hate him, but right now everyone loves him because he's got us playing really nice football that people haven't seen at Wednesday for like 15-20 years. And also he's in his press conferences, everyone likes listening to him. He's very charismatic, and it's not something we've had before.
Yeah, it's been fun to watch. I must admit, some of the football you played, some of the goals as well. I think some of the goals from the Bannon goal at the weekend and
we scored a few screamers in the past few weeks.
Oh, that Marco Matthias goal at Ellen Road, I think it was at the start of the season. Wow, what
just happened?
Yeah, I think a lot of people were, to be honest. What about when you last competed? Obviously, you're pushing for the Premier League. How did you go to any of the games when you were last in the Premier League, and if so, how does it compare to life in Championship or League One?
So I think when I was watching us in the Premiership, because I was obviously quite young at that point, it was really fun. And Hillsborough I think the atmosphere was probably better at Hillsborough then. It was kind of really full, and it was good. And I think because when you're younger, you have players who are like your heroes, who you love. And like for me, it was like Carboni and Di Canio. I was obsessed with Carboni and Di Canio. But I think now it's different because I appreciate when we play good football more, but you don't have that same kind of feeling towards the players. You do, but you're not like obsessed with them like you are when you're a child. Like I'd struggle to say who my favourite player is now, if you see what I mean. Whereas before it was like Benito Carboni. Benito Carboni is my favourite player. I love him.
You've perfectly segued there, because I was going to ask you about some of the players. If you look down through the years, the likes of Waddle and, as you say, Di Canio, Pressman, Sprite, Des Walker, of course. I'm with you on Benny Carbone. I loved him. He was so
special.
He was so Italian, wasn't he? The hair, the style, just everything about him. He's the sort of guy that you could just imagine rocking up in a sports car and going, yep, here I am.
So what I remember is, so the first time I was a mascot, it was in the Premiership against Bolton at home. And my parents were looking at the newspaper that morning, like in the sports news, and it said Carboni was injured and wouldn't be playing. And I remember I cried my eyes out. I was devastated. I was like, I'm going to be a mascot and Carboni's not going to be there. I was so upset. We got there, we met all the players. Di Canio made me feel a bit better. He's very, very friendly. And remember we stood on the pitch while the players were warming up, and my brother he tapped me and went, Natalie. I turned round, and Carboni stood in the tunnel in his suit and a cap, like you do. And I was like, oh my God. So obviously I ran over to him, got his autograph, got a picture with him, and that was my day made. I was ecstatic.
Was there a bit of a fangirl moment happening there then?
Definitely. I was a bit obsessed.
And of course, it would have nothing to do with the fact that he's a hideously good-looking individual. That would have nothing to do with it, of course. What about you mentioned Hillsborough, and obviously it's a ground that's steeped in footballing tradition and history, and of course one thing really stands out, which was the Hillsborough disaster. We're 25 years, or past 25 years now, sort of since the disaster. Do you think it's brought the supporters closer together? Because obviously we hear a lot about the Liverpool supporters, and rightly so to a degree. It did affect them massively, but there were 2 clubs that day. I mean, how do you think it affected Wednesday as a club on their ground, and how has it brought you together now?
So I think with everyone associated Hillsborough with the Hillsborough disaster for a long time, which I don't think was a nice thing for Sheffield Wednesday as a club, especially as we weren't even involved in it. But it's I think now people don't think of Hillsborough like that as much. But I think, but because of the fact that we're in the Championship, we're not in the Premiership, I think people still associate Sheffield Wednesday, Hillsborough. That I think it still happens, and it's a shame really, because it's a fantastic ground and it's very safe still. And I think, it's a shame really, but I kind of understand why it happens, But I think, no, it did affect Sheffield Wednesday a lot because people didn't want to go to Hillsborough, did they? So
Yeah, yeah.
it's a shame.
Do you see a day where Wednesday would ever leave? Do you think that would ever happen?
No, because I think there's more chance that we'll make improvements to Hillsborough
Yeah.
than move. I can't see any time in the near future as moving from Hillsborough now.
No, I agree. And speaking of the future, do you obviously football in Sheffield? It's a proper. Sheffield has always been a proper footballing hotbed. If you look at the likes of the Newcastles, the Manchesters, as well as the obvious in London. But
Yeah.
Sheffield's always had a rich footballing tradition. And in fact, where I'm based down in Plymouth, one of the former managers of Sheffield United, Neil Warnock, was recently saying that there's no atmosphere that compares to a Sheffield derby. Do you ever foresee a day where you could have that Sheffield derby again, whether it be Premier League or indeed sort of at a Championship level?
I think realistically, the only way that's going to happen anytime in the near future is if Wednesday don't get promoted this year and Sheffield United get promoted, because I can see us getting to the playoffs, but obviously that's a lottery, so we might not go up, which, I don't expect us to go up, but it'd be nice. And Sheffield United, I think they can get in the playoffs. Well, they seem to get in the playoffs every year and fail, but anyway. So I think the only chance is, if it's going to happen anytime soon, it will be next season, I think, in the Championship. But I think we might go up, and I think they might not go up, so.
Have you ever been to a derby?
I have. The last one was, I'm trying to think, it would have been, what year are we on now? So it would have been 2012. It was the season we were in League One. Sheffield United were top of the league. No, Sheffield United was second because Charlton wouldn't run away. We were third, they were second. I remember they were 5 points clear of us and had 2 games in hand. And it was the Sheffield derby at Hillsborough. Actually, Gary Megson's last game in charge. And it was a case of we kind of knew if we won this game, we could, we were in with the chance again. And I remember it was 0-0 at half time. And before every game, they play Hi Ho Silver Lining for everyone to sing Hi Ho Sheffield Wednesday. And I remember it doesn't really happen. And at half time, they played it again. It was as almost as they were getting the crowd to kind of G up the players again. And I just thought, we can do this. We want this more than them. And we scored a header. It would probably been about 70 minutes and won the game 1-0. And the atmosphere was just amazing. It was just incredible because it wasn't just a Sheffield derby. It was also to get promotion as well. It was also on the promotion trail as well. So it was just incredible.
So much on the line, sort of thing. Yeah.
As
how would you say it? Would you say it's a very bitter rivalry? Is it sort of like Liverpool-Everton, where it's almost a friendly rivalry, or are people very, very vehemently against each other on Derby Day?
I don't think it's very friendly at all, no. I think it's very much both teams will look to the other's results always to hope they've lost. It's very much like that a lot of the time. But I think as well, but what I think makes it not quite to the same extent as some rivalries like Millwall, West Ham, whatever, apart from, Sheffield Wednesday fans not really like that. But I think it's because Sheffield Wednesday have also got quite a rivalry with Leeds. Like, we really don't like Leeds either. And then there's also Rotherham, who are really close. I mean, Wednesday aren't that bothered about Rotherham, but there's kind of a few teams. So Sheffield United, obviously the main rivals, yes. But I think because we haven't played in the same league that many times over the past 20 years, it's not as strong as it could be. Though obviously when we were both in League One going for promotion, it was intense, as you can imagine.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I've been to a few London derbies in my time, but as you say, it's only really Spurs for us. All the others, Chelsea to a degree, but it's not. It doesn't have the feel of a local derby.
Not the same.
Yeah. No, I agree. Let's talk about your love for football in general then. As you say, you mentioned sort of playing it and loving the game and following different leagues or different sort of teams in different leagues. What do you make of this season's Premier League season? I mean, it's a bit sort of crazy. Again, as a Gooner, we witnessed a sort of crazy game at Anfield just last night. It doesn't seem like anyone wants to win this title. What do you make of this season?
It's crazy, isn't it? But it's more exciting, isn't it? I mean, we've got Chelsea battling relegation. It's a bit strange, isn't it? And Leicester have turned into Chelsea.
Yeah,
it's very exciting. And the fact that a team like Leicester are up there, potentially going to finish in the Champions League, it's crazy, but so good. But I do think that Arsenal is going to be their year this year, and I'll tell you because of why I think that. Because I think it's a lot more open this year. But also, I was doing some research actually into the past few seasons for Arsenal. I don't know if you've spoken about this before. You probably have been an Arsenal fan, but their record against kind of the teams around them, the rest of the top 4, top 5 teams. And what I noticed was that up until Christmas this year, Arsenal had accumulated more points against the other teams in the top 5 than they had in the previous season, the whole season before, in the past 3 years. And I think that's going to be the difference for them. I think it's the fact that they're getting results against the teams around them, which they haven't previously done. And I think that's going to be the difference. I think that's why they can win the league this year.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And as you say, we have often fallen apart when it really matters most. And it's like you say, it's getting that consistency and putting that run together. And as you rightly say, against the top clubs, we've been a lot better this season, which now, of course, means that we will lose every other game against the big teams this season because I've jinxed it. And what about outside of the country? Do you follow or watch? You mentioned like you flick onto the Spanish league every once in a while. Do you have sort of specific teams you look out for results, or is there a league that you've suddenly got into?
I love Barcelona, like a lot of people. I think I just love watching them for quite a long time now. Barcelona, like since I was young, and I liked like Rivaldo, those types of players. And for me, I think I went to the new camp about maybe like 4 years ago to watch a game, and it was really surreal, like seeing like Xavi, Iniesta, Messi, all these people playing in real life. But it's like really weird because it's a bit like a tourist attraction though, not a football game. Because you've got Messi running past on the pitch and people calling his name. It's really strange. Like to me, this was very strange. It wasn't like the atmosphere at an English football game. It was all kind of touristy in a way, which to me was a bit weird. But I did really enjoy it. And something funny as well, but I'll just think about that game afterwards. So it was for my brother's 21st. My parents took us there to Barcelona for my brother's 21st. And after the game, I managed to get us all lost. I don't know why I was directing us in Barcelona, having been there maybe once or twice before. But I remember my parents were getting really annoyed with me because I'd taken us the wrong way out of the ground. Then all of a sudden, we stop at this crossing, and an Audi R8 pulls up, my favourite car in the world, strangely. A white Audi R8 with the Barcelona logo on the side. I was like, oh, look at that car, that's cool. My mum goes, oh my God. She stopped, and I was like, what? She's like, oh my God. I'm like, what, Mum? She goes, oh, she couldn't breathe. And I went, what, Mum? And she went, Messi's in that car. I was like, Mum, no, he's not. The match has just finished like half an hour ago. Messi is not in that car. And she's like, here's this Messi. I was like, my mum's quite obsessed. I was like, Mum, it's like me with Carboni, but she's like in her 50s, so it's a bit weird. I was like, Mum, Messi's not in that car. And she went, he is, Natalie, he is. And I was like, all right, Mum. So I walked across where the car was because it had stopped at a crossing. And I stood there and looked in the car and I was like, oh, Jesus, it is Messi. He was sat in the passenger seat, being driven by someone in this. It's not very subtle, is it? A white R8 with the Barcelona logo on the side.
No, not really.
oh God, it is Messi. But I thought, there's lots of people around in the streets leaving the game. I'm not going to kick up a fuss because I don't, it's a bit unfair. So I walked back and I looked and I was like, it is. But then all of a sudden, all the people in the streets realised that Messi was in this car. And I felt so sorry for the poor guy because I reckon he's quite shy. He started to kind of sink into his seat. And the car got completely hounded. People were banging on the windows, taking pictures. It was crazy. But my parents forgave me, though. Because I managed to, walk past Messi.
just casually, just styled it out and walked past, yeah. You're absolutely right, though. It is. Our Spanish hipster is Tom, and he follows the Spanish league for us. And we've said on a number of occasions on our pod, it is almost like a tourist attraction. And the Mescayan club, more than the club sort of image, and that it really is a pantomime at times. But no doubt they know how to play football, no doubt about it, as I'm sure Arsenal will find out in a few weeks' time.
It's usually a good game, Arsenal Barcelona, though.
Yeah, all of my mates think that I'm crazy because I've got a sneaky feeling that we might just do it, but then I'm always the optimist, so we shall see.
Leicester are back to the top form though, aren't they now?
Yeah, it's keeping that front three quiet. That seems to be the biggest issue, because if you keep two of them quiet, the third one will get you, and so on. So
yeah, you're playing against the best three attackers in the world potentially.
Yeah. No,
scary thought, isn't it?
No challenge at all.
Messi and
really.
Neymar. No worries, your man Mark Messi, mark him out of the game. Oh, they've only got Neymar and Suarez to get top.
Yeah, easy.
Right, okay.
And then 4 or 5 midfielders that can break on and score goals against you. It'll be fine. It'll be absolutely fine.
Iniesta then,
Yeah. No drama whatsoever.
And the fact that we actually are alive when these players are playing football.
It's scary, isn't it? Yeah, because you think of the Maradonas, the Pelés, the two that stand out, and there's all this grainy footage and that, and to think that we'll be able to look back in 40, 50 years and go, well, that was the player during my generation. It's although I was privileged enough to see the likes of Dennis Bergkamp and Thierry Henry in the flesh, and even now, I mean, it's just amazing to look back and see. It really is amazing. What about What sort of other? Do you go to any other games that are non-Sheffield Wednesday? Do you like support local league football as well as playing and that? Do you ever sort of get the urge to take a stroll down to the local park and see just how bad the local level standard is?
Yeah, I've seen quite a few non-league teams play around, but generally, to be honest, if someone invites me to come to a football game, I'll go to a football. I love going to football games. I mean, living in the Midlands, I've been to quite a lot of West Brom games actually, because I used to have a good friend who was a West Brom fan. So I go to watch games quite often there. So I became, kind of liked West Brom a little bit, because when you go watch a team a few times, I think you become quite, you develop a bit of affinity to that club. So I quite like West Brom. Nothing against Villa. I go there. I mean, I'm going to watch Villa Liverpool play actually next month, because my housemate's supposed Liverpool. So I'll be going to that, and I do generally just love going to football matches. Obviously, I'd rather watch Wednesday play, but I'm not too keen about England though. I've watched them once, and I'm not too bothered about going again. But
you and me both. You and me
if I play
both.
Spain, I might go just for Spain, but it's not too. I'm just not too. Club football though, I just love it. I just absolutely love it.
Yeah, I'm the same. I've never been I think the last time I supported England was Euro '96, and I was a lot younger than I am now. So, yeah, it's just never gripped me. I like some international football. I'm the sort of the guy that covers the French league in our pod, so I have a little bit of a soft spot for France. And my first international team I really remember properly cheering for was Sweden in the '94 America World Cup, and I've always had a bit of a soft spot for Sweden as well. But the English thing, it's just never. I don't know whether it's because of the way the English are, maybe. I don't know, our fans.
I think, okay, this might sound quite bad, but I did find it quite difficult, supporting a team that the likes of players like John Terry and Wayne Rooney play for.
Exactly,
yes. The players, it's really difficult. Like, when you looked at Spain, when they had, like, Iniesta and Xavi, and this time player, I like those players, so I kind of, like, want them to do well.
Yeah.
But then you look at the England team, and I'm like, yeah, I'm English, great, but, and I mean, it'd be great if England won a World Cup, don't get me wrong, but I've never really liked the players, so it's quite difficult to cheer on a team of players that you don't really like.
Yeah, we are so alike on that. I've never understood it cheering for, as you mentioned before, a certain Mr. J. Terry. People like that, I just, I can't do it.
Oh, I mean, it's hard.
Yeah, can't do it. And broadening out that, I also don't quite understand these people that cheer for other teams when they're in Europe. I can't get my head around that one either.
No, I support Arsenal in Europe because I like Arsenal, because I also will cheer on Arsenal in the Premiership. The only team I won't cheer on Arsenal against actually is Sheffield Wednesday.
That's fair enough.
So
I'll give you that.
Yeah, so I mean, I will cheer on Arsenal because I like Arsenal, but I won't say I really hope Man U win. Why? Because they're English. Piss off! They've got about 2 English players for a start. Like, it's like a joke. It's like, it's not a reason to support them. I hope Chelsea win the Champions League. Why? I really hate them, but they're English.
It makes no sense, does it? It really doesn't.
Would you not rather Barcelona win? A team who you don't like the players
and enjoy watching. Yeah.
Do you remember? Do you remember? I think was it 2009 when the semi-final where Barcelona ended up winning with that last-minute Iniesta goal, away goal against Chelsea. I just remembered.
Oh yeah, well, at Stamford Bridge.
Oh, it was. I just remember I was at uni at the time. I remember I was in the pub with a lot of Chelsea fans. I was wearing a Barcelona shirt. I thought, for a Barcelona shirt. I remember that goal went in. I couldn't contain myself. I had to leave after that. So.
The original rebel causing hassle wherever you go. Like it. No, I'm totally with you. And I should say, as a humble Arsenal fan, I will grudgingly congratulate you on your victory over us earlier on this season.
I haven't mentioned that, have I? I've been good.
No, you've been very good. But no, I think in fairness, we as bad as we were, you were very good on the night. So grudgingly, I'll give you congratulations on that one.
To be honest, I was actually, when that third goal went in, I was literally like, what the hell is going on?
So were we, trust me.
What is this? But it was amazing, but so surreal. It was like for that night for Sheffield Wednesday, I think it was this season could be really special. That kind of night summed it up to us. It was like, we've just beat Arsenal 3-0 at home, and you didn't have the weakest team possible out, and it was kind of like what the hell's going on?
Yeah. And almost the start of the run that you've been on, was it? It's sort of catalyst to it. So, no, fair play. Every dog has its day, and fair play to them, I say. What about your plans, sort of for the future post Apprentice and 2016? I mean, obviously you mentioned the business plan that you had in mind when you went into it. What are you getting up to now? Are you still looking to expand on that idea? And do you have sort of ideas to really make a big splash in this calendar year?
So I've actually just started a new job this week, just doing kind of new business sales in technology. And the reason for that is because I've never done new business. I want to get some experience doing that, which then I hope in a few years will help me to open my own business. But on top of that, what I really want to get into this year, which interestingly, what we're doing now is talking about football more and doing like writing about football, because that's my main passion. I really like doing it. And I feel for a woman, that sounds quite sexist, I know a hell of a lot about football. And in a way, I kind of want to talk about it more, do more in that way.
Yeah. No, well, we're all for it. I mean, we'll have you on any time you like. So there you go, it's your first opportunity. But no, I totally understand. I mean, it's I'm part of. We have this podcast we do. I'm part of another heavily Arsenal orientated podcast, and it's the growing dawn of podcasting, as it were. You look at sort of the thing with Serial, for example, in America, that's made a massive splash worldwide, and the audio book and the generation of people talking about what they love on an audio platform is massively expanding, and I'm all for it. I think it's an absolutely excellent thing to be part of, and like you say, if you're passionate about something, then it's a good idea to do it.
Yeah, because you're going to feel more passionate talking about something you really care about, I guess.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Yeah, and you can talk openly without sort of having that almost censorship of going, oh, I better not say that because this might affect this, and you can just enjoy it. No, I totally agree. And what about sort of, as you say, like on a business standpoint? So it is very much you are looking at. You still want to pursue the dream. Is a strong word, because I don't think it's a dream, because you've almost made it reality already. But do you still want to pursue that idea of having your own business, your own boss, and calling the shots in your own way?
Definitely, yeah. I definitely don't want to work for a company forever. I just think, because I'm 26 now, I think I just need a few more years experience, mainly in bringing on new customers, so I can get more kind of experience selling. And then I think in a few years I'm ready to do it myself, because I definitely want my own business, 100%.
Yeah. You and me both on that one. In very different environments, but yeah, definitely. I'm very good at taking direction from others, have to be honest. That's probably why.
I know, it's quite difficult sometimes, isn't it?
It is, yeah, especially when my biggest frustration, I don't know if you experience this during the apprentice, is when you go to meet with somebody and you know that you know more about the product that you're that they have, you know more about it than them, or you're more passionate about it than them, and you just think, why?
I mean, because like we did the pet show selling, and I absolutely loved that. I mean, you didn't see any of this, but I sold so many of those bloody pet toys. I mean, I don't even like cats, but I somehow managed to sell a load of cat toys. But more, there was a like some weird little heated thing that was for like small furry animals. So I took it for rabbits, and because I used to have a rabbit, I just found it so easy finding these people and like talking to them about rabbits and making them buy a rabbit toy. It was really fun though, because I knew a lot about rabbits, which sounds a bit strange, I know, but
some of those I must admit, I am a cat person, but I love that episode just because of the whole animal concept, and that image. I forget the chap's name, but the gentleman on the show who sold the bunny t-shirts, the young chap.
Yeah.
Oh, that image of him sort of trying to style that t-shirt out was hilarious. Did you have in those, when they do those individual tasks, do you sort of look at some of them and think, oh my god, how the hell am I going to do this? I have no interest, I have no desire in this, and
So I don't know if you remember, but in the second week where we had to do a shampoo.
Yeah.
So to me, I was like, oh Jesus! And the problem was, I didn't really have any interest in shampoo anyway. But then when I saw the bottle, once I'd already said I wanted to do a pitch, I was horrified. I was like, oh my god, this is horrendous. I was quite, and what you don't see is as well, the pitch I had to read out was written by the project manager, so not even by me. So I was reading a pitch out about something I didn't know anything about, that I thought was terrible, that someone else had wrote. So it's quite hard. And then because generally, I'm trying quite hard not to, but I generally speak really, really, really fast all the time. So I had everyone going to me all the time, Natalie, you need to speak slowly, So I took it to an extreme and spoke like a robot.
You went from one extreme to the other. Must be tough. Must be really tough.
I think it's difficult when you watch yourself on TV and your personality doesn't come across. And I've got people I know, like who know me, watch it, and they're like, this isn't you. I'm like, yeah, I know. But then people who have never met you think that that's you, and that's what you're really like as a person. And I think that's the most annoying thing about it, actually.
Yeah, I tell you, one other question I have to ask you actually about The Apprentice, with the when it's filmed, obviously it's clearly filmed at a point over a period of weeks. How long do you have to sit there on a secret? How long before you know who the winner is? Do they film the final a bit later on so that you don't, or?
So so what happens is, so you get fired, and you get taken straight to a hotel. You go pick up your stuff from the house the next day, then you're done. But then some people obviously get asked to go back to the final. You go back to do the final, which takes probably about another 4 days. You go back to live in the house too, which is quite nice. And it's quite more relaxed, obviously, because you're not under all that pressure. But then what happens is you go to the boardroom after the task. You all stay in there for a while. You go, and then the 2 finalists are in there with Sugar for like probably another hour. He doesn't make a decision though. They film 2 endings, so they film him telling them both they've won and both they've lost. So then what happens is, so the final was on a Sunday in December, and it was only on the Friday, which was when You're Hired was filmed. The finalists only found out that morning from a phone call from him. He only rang them that morning. We didn't find out then until we actually watched it there. We all kind of guessed he would, but we didn't actually find out until we watched it then. And so it was kind of nice because it was the only episode you didn't know the outcome of.
That's clever. The oldest trick in the book, but still works to this day. Filmed 2 endings, like a film, I suppose.
Yeah, kind of.
A glimpse behind the curtains there, listeners. There you go. And a true, I'd say interesting. It's probably only interesting to you, but Charlene, who you remember, obviously from the show, her hairdressing salon is about 10 steps from my front door.
Really?
Yep. She's been running the salon for quite a number of years, actually. But yeah, it's literally across the road from where I live. So there you go. Fun fact for you. Final question then. We ask all of our guests this, all of our interviews. We ask you to give us your favourite hipster player, past and present. So you can have 2. I've got a feeling I know who one might be, but give us your thoughts.
Carboni.
I thought it might be.
Ever. And then I suppose in the world now, I won't say Messi because it's too obvious, even though he's the best. I think in the Premier League, I'll say in the Premier League, my favourite player in the Premier League, in English football right now, is Sanchez, actually.
Yeah, very nice, very nice.
I think he works really hard, but I think he's just really good. Like, he's just brilliant to watch. And I think he's quite likeable as well.
Yeah, he seems like a very down to earth, just like a working hard guy. And we had quite a few giggles during the summer because obviously he went to play for Chile in the Copa America, and all of us Arsenal fans were sort of sat there going, "Oh, please don't get injured." And then of course he was rested for a couple of days, and what does he do? He goes running on the beach. It's like, oh, for goodness sake, stop.
He's got 2 nice dogs though.
He does, yes, yeah.
I liked him a bit more. I was like, oh, he loves his dog. He's quite cute.
He is. He's a pleasure to watch, I have to say.
Oh, he's brilliant. I mean, I loved him at Barcelona. So.
Yeah, their loss is definitely our game.
Not like Pedro, who decided to, and Fabregas, who've upset me.
Less said about him, the better.
I've got over that. I've not quite got over that them 2 went to Chelsea.
No. I hate it when that happens, when a player that you really love signs for a team that you really hate, and you're like, oh.
I know, it's like Fabregas, the love just went playing for Chelsea. There.
Yeah, same for us.
It's just over.
Along with Ashley Cole. No, 100% agree with you. 100% agree with you. Anything you'd like to plug, or any by all means you can give your Twitter account out, or anything that you're working on, or anything that you'd like people to know about that you're up to?
I don't think so, really. But I guess it's always nice to speak to people about football on Twitter all the time. I'm trying to think what my Twitter is. It's NatLD182, I think. And I always welcome people talking about football. It's great. I like it. And that's what's been really good about The Apprentice. More people follow you on Twitter, so you have more people to talk about football, which is quite interesting. It's quite nice, actually.
Yeah, that's very true. Very true. And you're working on a blog, aren't you, at the moment? Or you're in the process of doing a blog? I'm in the process of starting a football blog, and my first one is going to be about Arsenal, so I'll let you know when I've... Fantastic. We will obviously give that a plug for you. And as I said earlier in the show, if you ever have a particularly bored evening and you want to come on and do some podding with us, or indeed write anything for us, you are more than welcome.
No, definitely. So. I love talking to people. It's great. It's fun.
Fantastic. Well, super. Well, thank you ever so much, Nat, for your time. It's been a pleasure to have you, and as I say, our listeners will learn something, and it's always nice to do an interview where we cross over the world of sort of football and something else.
And it's nice to not do just an interview just about The Apprentice as well.
I wondered if you might think that, actually. I thought I'd try and keep it football, because it's all you get remembered for otherwise, isn't it? So.
I don't mind, but it's nice to have a balance.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Well said. Well, thank you very much for your time. And all that remains to be said to our listeners, as we always say, keep your beard strong and your glasses trendy. And we will speak to you on our next podcast.